Before you choose a place to buy property in Mexico, ask one question first. Does this area actually fit the way you plan to buy, live, manage, and eventually resell? Because the wrong area can turn a beautiful property into a money problem. It can mean higher costs, harder management, weaker rental demand, or a property that is much harder to resell later. Most Americans ask, what is the best place to buy property in Mexico? But that question is too broad. The better question is, best for what kind of buyer? A retirement buyer, a rental income buyer, a beach lifestyle buyer, and someone who wants a simple, low-maintenance property may all need very different areas. So in this video, I'll show you how to think about where Americans should buy property in Mexico in 2026, based on your real buying situation, not just the prettiest place on the map. There is no single best place in Mexico for every American buyer. A great area for retirement may not be the right area for rental income. A strong beach market may not be the easiest place to manage. And a cheaper area may look attractive at first, until you factor in access, services, yearly costs, and resale. So instead of asking, what is the best place? Start by asking, what kind of property decision am I actually making? Because once you understand the type of buyer you are, the right areas become much easier to compare. Let's start with the retirement lifestyle buyer. If you are buying property in Mexico to live there part-time or full-time, the right area is usually not just the most beautiful beach town. It is the area where daily life actually works. That means healthcare access, airport access, reliable services, transportation, groceries, restaurants, and a community where you can realistically see yourself living. For this type of buyer, established areas like Puerto Vallarta, Lake Chapala, Mérida, San Miguel de Allende, and similar markets often come up for a reason. Not because they are perfect, but because they already have some of the daily life structure many American buyers need. And that matters more than people think. Because a place can be beautiful for 1 week on vacation, but very different when you need to manage daily life there. So if you are a retirement buyer, do not start with the prettiest photo. Start with this question. Can I actually live comfortably here, not just vacation here? The next type of buyer is the beach lifestyle buyer. This is the person who has always imagined owning property near the ocean, and there is nothing wrong with that. But the decision should not stop at the view. Because a beach property is not just a lifestyle decision, it is also a management decision. A beach condo may come with HOA fees, maintenance costs, insurance costs, rental rules, and ongoing management responsibilities. So before choosing an area simply because it is on the water, ask yourself, does this property still make sense after all of the ownership costs are included? For a beach lifestyle buyer, the goal is not simply to be close to the ocean. The goal is to find a property where the lifestyle and the numbers both work. The next type of buyer is the value buyer. They are not necessarily looking for the most famous beach market. They are looking for a property decision that makes financial sense, but value in Mexico does not simply mean the lowest purchase price. A cheaper property can become expensive if the area is hard to access, harder to maintain, or difficult to resell later. So the better question is not, how much does the property cost? It is, what will it cost to own, maintain, use, and eventually sell? For this buyer, lower-priced areas can be attractive, but only if infrastructure, services, access, and resale also make sense. Sometimes the better value is not the cheapest property. It is the property where the numbers still work after the real cost of ownership is included. The next type of buyer is the rental income buyer. This is the person who is looking at Mexico not only as a place to enjoy, but also as a property that may help produce income. For this buyer, the right area is not simply the busiest tourist market. A popular location can still be a weak rental decision if the numbers do not work. First, you need to understand the income side: occupancy, seasonality, nightly rates, and local competition. Then you need to understand the cost and rule side: HOA rules, rental restrictions, management costs, and ongoing expenses. And you also need to separate projected income from proven income. Because rental promises can sound strong before you buy. But after you own the property, projections do not pay the bills. The only number that matters is the real net income after expenses. So if you are a rental income buyer, do not start with the most popular destination. Start with this question. Are the rental numbers proven, and do they still work after real costs are included? The final type of buyer is the low-maintenance buyer. This is the person who wants a Mexico property that stays simple, predictable, and manageable in real life. They may not want remote land. They may not want a complicated renovation. And they may not want a property that has to be constantly managed from another country. For this buyer, the right area is usually not the cheapest area, the newest development, or the deal that looks most exciting. It is the area where access is easy, services are already in place. Management is realistic, and the property can be used without constant problem solving. That may mean choosing a more established condo community, a more practical neighborhood, or a market where resale demand is easier to understand. So, if you want a simple, low-maintenance property in Mexico, do not start with the deal that looks most exciting. Start with this question. Can I realistically own and manage this property without creating a second job for myself? After looking at the main buyer types, the goal is not one perfect place in Mexico. The goal is to find the area that fits your actual buying situation. For a retirement buyer, daily life matters. For a beach lifestyle buyer, ownership costs matter. For a value buyer, the real cost of ownership matters. For a rental income buyer, proven numbers matter. And for a low-maintenance buyer, simplicity matters. So before choosing a city, a beach market, or a specific property, compare the area through the same basic questions. Can I live with the access? Can I handle the costs? Can I manage the property? Is there real demand if I need to rent or resell? And does this area fit the reason I'm buying in the first place? That is how you stop chasing the prettiest place on the map and start choosing an area that fits your life, your numbers, and your reason for buying. Once you understand what kind of area fits your situation, the next step is understanding how the buying process actually works in Mexico. Because choosing the right area is only the first decision. After that, you still need to understand the steps. How offers work, what documents matter, when deposits are paid, what due diligence should happen, and how closing actually works. So if you are an American thinking about buying property in Mexico, watch the next video where I walk through the buying process step by step, so you can understand what happens before you put money at risk.